Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. So I'm Rachel Bevan, Director of Statistics Division at UN ESCAP, and a warm welcome to the second session of the Asia-Pacific Stats Cafés on ESCAP Committee on Statistics Fit for the Future. And today this is our second consultation discussion where we're going to look at the review of our groups and communities of practice supporting the ESCAP Committee on Statistics. So I'm pleased that I've got our chair and the panel members who joined me today, and thank you everyone else who's also joined online. So let me pass over first of all to Dr. Eng Chuan Ko, who is the Chief Executive of the Department of Statistics in Singapore, and he's going to chair the session today, and then a bit later we'll introduce the other panel members, if that's okay. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Rachel. Dear colleagues, welcome to this second Stats Cafe session on the topic Fit for the Future. If you recall, the Bureau, along with the Secretariat, was tasked at the 8th Committee of Statistics session to review and streamline the Committee of Statistics work, which has grown over the years, and we have seen some overlaps in the community of practices, and this is time for us to take stock. A draft document to that effect was put up early this year and sent to members for comments and amendments. Following that, the ESCAP Secretariat has organized a Stats Cafe session to discuss the proposal to streamline the 5 groups and communities of practice, supporting the committee's work into dash teams with fixed terms of reference and end dates to ensure that they continue to be fit for purpose. The second draft document has been sent out again after taking on board the suggestions. Today is the second cafe session to hear from colleagues their views on the second draft document. I think this is a very generous gathering of feedback so that we are aligned on the way forward on how we discuss important emerging statistical issues. This should be the final session before the document is put up at the coming Committee of Statistics session. We hope you will be able to share your views candidly at this session. And thank you very much, Rachel, for organizing this second Stats Cafe session. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And what I'm going to do, if that's okay, I'm going to share with you a bit more in terms of where we are on the consultation and the structure that we're suggesting. And then I've asked Eng Chuan, who's going to also give his reflections as one of the Bureau members. And we've also got with us, we're joined by Mr. Gagita Todrides, who's the Chief Executive of the Georgia Bureau of Statistics and was our previous chair of the Bureau of Statistics. So we've asked him to provide some reflections. And then we've also asked Gary Dunnett from Statistics New Zealand, a senior methodologist there, but also somebody who has huge experience working across the statistical community in Asia and the Pacific. So we've asked all 3 of them to give their reflections after I just present to you where we are in terms of the consultation and the recommendations. So if I could ask Goy to put up the presentation, please. And if we go on to the second slide, thank you very much. So as we've said, this is the second consultation. So we did the first one, we circulated the paper. We had quite a lot of comments, and I'll come back to the recommendations and findings from that. We had a discussion back in June where quite a few countries actually attended, and this is the second one, and then we look to finalize the paper in September for presentation at the 9th session of the Committee on Statistics, which is the 11th to the 13th of December. So if we go on to the next slide, please. just a quick reminder of the current structure as we have it. So we have our Committee on Statistics, which is supported by a bureau, and there are always 6 members of the bureau, 1 from each of the sub-regions, and then 1 additional bureau member. And then we have 5 existing groups and communities supporting the work of the committee. We have 2 steering groups, 1 for the improvement of economic statistics and 1 on population and social statistics. We have a technical working group on disaster-related statistics, as well as the Asia-Pacific Data Integration Community of Practice. And we have a 5th group, a network for the coordination of statistical training in Asia and the Pacific, but that group actually stopped operating last year, I think it was. So if we go on to the next slide, please. So some of the kind of emerging key findings in terms of we've done a lot of consultation, we've heard from lots of different people, and what we found was very much that the steering groups were working very well where there's additional financial resources. And that was definitely the case when we set up the regional steering group on economic statistics. At the time, there was additional funding, which ESCAP had, actually from the UK government, which provided a kind of programme of support. But then what we found was that actually when the financial resources finish, or when the particular project finishes, then it's less clear how those what the role is of those steering groups, and how they can operate when the resources stop. What we also found is that actually some of the informal groups have actually been able to respond much more quickly to rapidly changing contexts, unlike the formal groups. We've also found that online webinars have actually been very successful. So particularly our Asia-Pacific Stats Café, which we've got today, they're actually being very successful in terms of providing a really good way to share information and experiences, and they're able to respond very quickly to emerging issues. The community of practice as well, we found that also has worked very well, but particularly because it's where we're trying to be open and inclusive. So it's a good way to get lots of people engaged. But what we have also found, though, is that there's an increasing overlap between the different groups. And that's because we have this real growth in what we call multi-domain topics. So things like data governance, environmental statistics, big data, they don't fit neatly into economic statistics or social statistics. They really cut across the different groups. So then it makes it very hard for us to kind of know how do you have those discussions, how do you fit things in. So that was one of the kind of issues that we really found in the consultations. I think what we've also found is that countries, we feel that there's a preference to engage with global groups where they exist, rather than kind of duplicating global groups at the regional level. And so we would much rather, I think, as well, that, actually at the global level, there's a stronger Asia-Pacific voice rather than us kind of duplicating the global groups at the regional level. So what we found is that some of the groups that we have, although they weren't set up to duplicate global groups, what's happened over time is that actually global groups have then been set up. And that's been the case, for example, on that network for training institutes, where it was initially set up, there was no global group on that topic, but now there is a global group. And so therefore it kind of really overlaps with that new global group. And that doesn't then it's not then clear how the regional group fits into that. So we really want to kind of avoid that situation. That means that we constantly need to look at the groups that we have, because of course things change at the global level and new groups are created, and and some groups also change their function. So I guess the other key finding that's also kind of influenced our recommendation is that as a secretariat, we have limited resources, as everyone knows, and equally it's the case as well, of course, with NSAs. Everybody's operating with limited resources, and that means we can only support a small number of groups. So that really has influenced our recommendations as well. So if we go on to the next slide, please. This is to show you the new structure that we're recommending. So instead of having those 5 separate groups, what we're recommending is we, of course, carry on with our Committee on Statistics and the Bureau as they are. but that rather than having those other 5 groups, we would have dash teams, we're calling them. And these dash teams would be time bound. They would also be very task focused. They'd really have a clear output for each of the task teams. And they would be set up to support the implementation of committee decisions. So it wouldn't be that we would just set something up on a topic that's of interest, but we'd have to actually have a kind of clear committee decision, but also have a clear output in mind and a deliverable, not just a kind of topic of interest. So what we're recommending then is to move towards these new dash teams, and each dash team would have agreed terms of reference. The Bureau would need to agree the terms of reference. Dash teams would report back to the Bureau and then to the Committee on Statistics. Let me go on to the next slide, please, if that's okay. As we say here, then the key recommendations are that we discontinue those 5 existing groups and communities of practice. We set up these dash teams, which are task focused, time bound, and they really support the implementation of decisions that are taken by the Committee on Statistics, reporting back to the Bureau and then to the committee. We would anticipate that we would only have maybe 2 dash teams operating at any one time. Certainly, we're not anticipating that we will have loads and loads of these, because we know that we can't manage that, and probably countries can't either. But then to support the work of the Committee on Statistics as well, we're recommending that we develop a new Asia-Pacific Data and Statistics online forum, which will cover all aspects of official statistics. So rather than our existing data integration community of practice, we would actually have this broader forum, an online forum, which covers all aspects of official statistics, rather than just having one that's working on data integration. We're also recommending that we continue with the Asia-Pacific Stats Cafes as a good way to provide a way to share experiences. So if we go on to the next slide, please. So this is where we are in terms of the consultation process. We've asked for comments on this second round of consultations by tomorrow, 31st of July. And if we go on to the next slide, let me just summarise for you the feedback from the first round of consultation. So we have updated the paper which we sent out on the basis of the consultations. We had 31 people attending the first webinar. I think we've got 34 today. And we had another 4 regional, and they came from 13 countries and 4 regional organisations. I think it's quite similar today, actually, although I'll have to ask afterwards about how many countries we've actually got online, but I think it's a similar number. We also had 10 countries provide and 1 regional organisation provide written feedback. And what that feedback really showed is that there's very broad support for this new structure for setting up dash teams, and there were a number of kind of really helpful suggestions around how we could do that, the transition arrangements, how we move from having those regional steering groups and the other groups towards these new dash teams. And the other thing that we've changed from the first round of consultations is it was very clear that there was a preference for allowing for a mixed modality. In our early kind of thinking, we'd thought that we would do everything virtually with the dash teams, but reflecting on the feedback, we have changed that so that we could have in-person or virtual modality for the new dash teams, although I should say that's within existing resources. So all of these recommendations are within our existing resources. So that's also really important for us to say that everything that we recommend does not require any additional money. We're having to manage that within our secretariat time, and we're also trying to make sure that we don't place any additional burden on countries either. So that's the kind of feedback. And I think the other feedback that we got was around the kind of more clarity on the role of dash teams and how exactly they would be formed, which we have covered in a revised version of the paper. So that's our feedback from that consultation round, and broadly where we are in terms of the new committee structure. So I think at this point, if it's okay, we wanted to then hear from the 3 panel members to give your reflections, if that's okay. And we've got, thank you, Goy, for putting up the pictures. Maybe if we can go first of all to our chair, and then if we can hear afterwards from Gugita and then Gary in that order, if that's okay. If you'd like to share your reflections. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thanks, Rachel. Yeah, so just to give a broad overview of what Singapore thinks, we are really supportive of the proposal to change from the groups and communities to the use of agile dash teams. Set out of dash teams is actually relevant in a rapidly changing environment with many cross-cutting issues, and it's actually in line with what the Department of Statistics in Singapore has been doing. Um, as with the other NSOs, we are facing a lot of demands on our data with a large variety of data sources, huge technology enablers. And at the end of the day, how do we service the data needs of the different communities or audiences? So actually, we have 4 Ps, and I think I'll just run briefly through them to see the similarity of what we have done in Singapore versus what uh, the secretariat is proposing with the dash teams. First is P. We have 4 Ps: products, processes, people, and presence. First is the product P, and we are streamlining the different uh, pieces of work that we have, reprioritizing our work so that we reduce some of the less relevant work, and then we focus our officers on the key work that's going forward. Uh, we have enhanced data sharing, mobile apps, and many different platforms so that people can use our platforms more readily. So this is the agile part where we really want to transform how we are offering our products. Um, Second P is on process. As we know, technology has advanced significantly over the last few years, especially um, digital AI, ML, uh, machine learning. So we have been doing this with a core group of people we call the Digital Transformation Unit. And this is a hub and spoke model that we have. We have a core team, and then we have many different people from all around in the different stats division coming to the core team to review their business processes and how we can incorporate quick wins using technology to improve efficiency. And that's where we see the agile part coming in as well, to be able to respond quickly to technological changes. The third P is on people. We are focusing on people to have structured job rotations, especially when they're young, to expose them to the different things that's happening, to expose them to the different stats that we are doing, and we share them at platforms like our Learning Day or your online platform, the community that you're building is very similar. So we have special topics, and people jump into those topics and give comments to each other, and they cross share their knowledge and learn from one another. It's the same as your Stats Cafe and your online forum that you are proposing. The fourth P is to be fit for the future. We need to know what the users want, and we need to also let them know what we have. So it's a mutual thing in terms of the communication and the discovery. And it's important that dash teams are formed to be able to address what the users want. So that's where I think, in terms of the response time, is faster than large community of practices. Not that it's not good, but I think that in this area we can be faster in terms of the response. And I would say that this is actually the fifth P project, which is to how do we meet the challenges of the future? And that's on a project basis, where the dash teams with the necessary knowledge, expert knowledge, the necessary interest from the different people. Not everyone is interested in the same topic, and also the necessary authority that people who are in the dash teams are able to contribute and form and address a topic, leading to practical approaches for the rest of the stats community. I think that's where the value is. And I would also want to add that dash teams, maybe we can put in this characteristic that they may be able to branch off to specific issues much easier, branch out to specific focus issues much easier than a large community of practice or groups. So if there is a certain topic that requires more in-depth study, the terms of reference for one dash team could have ended, but it can spin off another one. It's just a spin off. or new startup, and that's what I think there is value in that. I think I hope my sharing is useful for the colleagues out there, and I would say that we fully support what the Secretariat has proposed. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eng Chuan. And it's really interesting to hear about the changes that you're making in Singapore, and to hear how similar they are to what we're recommending as well. Hopefully you can hear me okay. So maybe we could hear next from Gagita, if it's okay if we go to you for your reflections. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It is my pleasure to express my sincere appreciation to our distinguished panelists and warmly greet all of you. I'd like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to the ESCAP Statistical Division for organizing this cafe meeting and for the opportunity to share my perspectives. As a former chair of the Bureau of Statistics ESCAP, it is always a privilege and great pleasure to participate in events organized by you. I'm eager to continue supporting and engaging with these important initiatives in the future. So I'd like to highlight that we convey our firm support for the recommendations outlined in the consultation document concerning the new committee structure. The proposed changes aim uh, to optimize operations and enhance the committee's effectiveness, ensuring it is more closely aligned with the evolving needs of the Asia-Pacific statistical community. Introduction of DASH teams and the Asia-Pacific Data Science Data Statistics Online Forum are notable initiatives to foster collaboration and innovation across various domains of official statistics. Moreover, Geostat acknowledges the comprehensive review and insightful recommendations presented in the consultation document. And on behalf of Geostat, I would like to bring to your attention several specific comments and regarding the recommendations. First, transition from existing groups. So we acknowledge the proposal to abolish the current groups and communities of practice. However, it is important to ensure that the transition from existing groups and communities of practice does not disrupt ongoing projects and preserves valuable knowledge and practices. Second, in terms of new online forum, establishing a new online forum for statisticians across Asia Pacific is a promising initiative, I can say. Full details on its management and moderation are needed to ensure it effectively facilitates the exchange of knowledge, exchange of experience and advice between UN entities and the national statistical systems. Additionally, clarity on how this forum will build on these successes of the existing data integration community of practice and technical working groups on disaster-related statistics and the Asia-Pacific Stats Café would be beneficial. Third one is dash teams formation and coordination. I can say that establishing dash teams to support the implementation of decisions taken by the Committee on Statistics is a positive step. We request more information on the criteria and the terms of reference and the process for forming dash teams, including the nomination and selection of members, and how their tasks will be coordinated with other activities. Understanding the role of the Bureau in overseeing dash teams and coordinating with the online forum is crucial for assessing the effectiveness of the proposed structure. In terms of relationship between new elements, uh, clarity on the relationship between Dutch teams, the Asia-Pacific Stats Cafés, and the new online forum, and how these elements will collectively work toward achieving the committee's objectives would be helpful, in our opinion. So, in conclusion, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the Bureau and the Secretariat for their comprehensive efforts in reviewing the existing committee structure. Your proposed new framework is a testament to your dedication and vision, accurately reflecting the dynamic and evolving landscape of official statistics in our region. We firmly believe that these proposed changes hold a huge potential to foster greater collaboration, boost efficiency, and drive innovation in the field of official statistics. And your work sets a comprehensive foundation for us to build upon, ensuring that we are well equipped to meet the challenges and opportunities of the future. So we look forward to continued discussions and collaborations to ensure the successful implementation of the revised structure of the Committee on Statistics. Thank you once again for the opportunity to contribute to this vital conversation and for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gigita. We will look at how we're to those, but can I ask Gary for your reflections from your perspective? It would be great to hear some reflections. Over to you. Thank you so much, Gary.
Thank you, Rachel. So I'd like to also echo the previous comments and thanks to ESCAP and the secretariat for working with the Bureau to come forward with the proposal and hold two Stats Cafe sessions where we can have open discussion and Q&A, and it helps forming ideas and thoughts. So I think that's been really positive. Statistics New Zealand supports the proposal. We really, sort of feel the establishment of the DASH teams with regular reviews, the online forum, coupled with Stats Cafe, will actually provide a much stronger opportunity for participation and discussion of issues and work across the ESCAP region. So, and I think it's good to take all those ideas as a package, because I think each idea in its own will have merit, but as a package, it will, the sum is greater than the individual parts. And so I think, when I think about the opportunities of the options as one, I think we'll see a lot more agility in our work program, and that, short, sharp focus, with terms of reference and that are being constantly reviewed. It will mean that there is tighter management and focus on delivery of the work program. I think it'll mean that we can actually pick up more contemporary issues rather than having a long-standing committee, which sometimes, gets stuck in a bit of a groove or a mode, and it doesn't always move with the contemporary issues that we face as stats officers. Also, given that dash teams are scalable, I think that will give agility to the program, because it'll mean that also small projects or small items of interest will actually get a look in. Where if you have a sort of more traditional view, some of the smaller projects or issues don't make it into a work program because they're just too small. Also, when we think about dash teams and I sort of think there's a little bit of informality around dash teams, but also the combination with being potentially online and in person, it'll mean that clearly there's a lower cost of entry to participate. So I'm thinking that will mean, hopefully, that more countries will participate in working groups or the dash teams. But also, I think within countries, I'm thinking that, having online abilities means that instead of one person traveling, to an event in Bangkok or wherever, you can actually have a couple of people attending, remotely. And I'm always keen to encourage learning opportunities, so you could have the expert and someone who's learning their craft participate. And then, of course, broadening outside the ESCAP region as well, that if there are some specialists outside the region, having online is really beneficial. Also, I think because that we're providing facilities to bring for everyone to contribute, I think that will mean that some countries might be able to bring forward what I call their pet projects. Where you might not get enough momentum to get a working group formed, but maybe a dash team could easily be formed around with only 4 or 5 participants. Sort of, and that might be just an interest that it might just interest a few countries, so we can sort of set that up. And I suppose through all of this, I'm thinking about knowledge transfer and how the opportunity is provided, and we're going to lead to greater knowledge transfer. I do like the idea that we're going to have a bit more tighter management, of both reporting and delivery. I think that's really important, and wherever you are in the management chain, or whether you're reporting to the minister or whatever, the way we spend the public purse is really important. And so I think participating, having a structure like dash teams will actually enable that. And then the final comment I was going to make was that I really like the fact that we're building on the success of the Stats Café series. I look around the world and I don't see anything like the Stats Café series, and the longevity of the Stats Café series is a true testament to ESCAP and the secretariat, but also us as participants and also us as willing presenters. And so I think bringing out the work of the dash teams, and potentially using them as being shared across the Stats Cafe will be really good as well, because it sort of shows the value that we're getting from the work. And I just want to reflect that New Zealand is also part of the UN, UN ECE group, the European group, and I participated at weird hours of the night up into Europe. But there is the HLG MOS group has they have a very short, they don't call them dash teams, but the idea is that they have small projects that work for less than a year. Each year, the bureau equivalent chooses what projects to work on. There's only a couple of projects per year, and though they often feed that into the UN Stats Division meeting in New York. The outcomes of their work. If you ever read the UNECE reports, you'll see often the HLG MOS is reported on. It's very, sort of similar that the CES Bureau works it up, and that's been very successful. And I see some similarities to what was proposed here, but some really nice differences here in ESCAP, the ESCAP work. But it has been very successful, and a lot of the things that I've just talked about our agility, lower cost to participate, tighter management, and also publication of our outcomes is really key, and it's been part of the success of that group there. So that was all I was going to say.
Thank you so much for those reflections, and thank you as well for sharing about the HLG MOS. And we have indeed kind of looked at that group to see what they were doing as well, and to see what we can learn from that. I mean, just let me respond quickly to what Gagita was saying and some of those reflections there, and then we will open it up. So please do put your hands up now, because we would like to hear from some others as well to get your reflections on what we're suggesting. You can just say, yes, we think it's all fantastic, or you can say, you know, where you think we need to change, or we might need to alter things. So we really do want to genuinely hear from as many of you as possible, because this is our opportunity to really hear what you think, and we want to make sure that the new structure does work as well as possible. I mean, in terms of the new DASH teams, we have put together some terms of reference. We have tried to keep them a bit shorter than usual, and that was perhaps as well to reflect the fact that in the past, we've sometimes kind of gone down the route of almost of making our terms of reference very, very fixed, and then we find we get kind of it's very difficult to change them. So we're trying to keep them a little bit kind of shorter, a little bit more flexible, so that we will kind of then look at how this works, and then look at kind of constantly reviewing the DASH teams to see, you know, how it's working. And that's perhaps as well the reason that we haven't been absolutely fixed in terms of saying how we would look at selecting task team members. We would definitely look at we would write round to all member states to let them know when a DASH team is created and what the terms of reference are, and to ask if anybody wants to nominate people from their office. So we would try to be as open as possible in terms of that. We would also use that new online forum. So we'd also kind of be recognising the fact that there may be other people out there that wouldn't necessarily be formally maybe nominated by the statistics office. There may be other people in that wider community. But we've tried to leave it a little bit open on that to see how it works and to see what happens. And I think we will then kind of need to, you know, review this and see how it's working. But we also, you know, will use our bureau, I think, more than we have done previously. So we really want to kind of, you know, see how we can use them in terms of having a regular discussion with them. But in some ways, we didn't want to kind of specify things like exactly how many people would be in a DASH team, exactly, you know, how we would kind of decide, you know, sub-regional representation and that. We would have been a little bit more kind of flexible than that, and we'll kind of see how it goes, and then we can look at that and review it to see whether or not we need to change that. And definitely, as we build a new online forum, we will look at the data integration community of practice and how that's working, and we're looking at how we can build on that. And we will also make sure that we don't lose the knowledge that we have in that group already. So we'll definitely, you know, we'll try to make sure that we incorporate that in the new kind of online forum going forward. That was just some quick reflections on that. But we will, you know, continue look at that transition from the existing groups, and look at how we can manage that as well, to make sure that we, you know, continue the discussions and that we don't just kind of stop everything, but that we make sure the kind of discussions continue, whether they continue through online forum or through different stats cafes, or other fora as well. It would be great. I've asked Afsane actually if she would moderate just in terms of getting in some questions, just because then it makes it easier for me to respond to any. But I'm just looking online to see, do we have any hands up at the moment? But if I pass over to you,
No.
Afsane. Oh, okay. I'm
No,
going to encourage
you. We still have no questions and no hands up. So just inviting everyone, please come this is the final round of consultation, and we appreciate to hear from you.
And do feel free to ask questions as well. We do have one now, don't we? Maybe we can go to India if you would like to go ahead with questions, comments. Thank you.
Yeah, may I audible?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. And this is Dr. J.S. Tomar from NSO India. And I would like to thank you for this document. And after attending the first round of the this series on discussion on this and on the document, we already provided the feedback, and that was very well taken care. That is related to modality of the DES team, virtual as well as physical, and some more comments already you are in a process to incorporate to clear the activities and responsibilities and other things related to this team. So I think this is overall fit for the future. So I think you may go ahead with this document. This is my thoughts. Thank you very much. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your very kind comment. Maybe we start with the Mentimeter. So because I think that colleagues are a little bit shy to share their thoughts. If you just allow me to share my screen and just let me share them. Let me find the QR code. Sorry, because I just made it so. So sorry for this. Oh, what's wrong? I'm so sorry. Just a second, give me this.
Asani, maybe whilst you're doing that, we'll put up this Mentimeter, but maybe Gagita, we can go back to you. That would be great to hear from you. Thanks.
So can you hear me?
Yes,
So
yes, please go ahead.
if Gia is no for the question, I can make some general insight and make a general remark on benefits and challenges. So I can say that the new structure offers a fresh approach by abolishing existing groups and communities of practice, paving the way for more streamlined and efficient framework. This change will foster greater collaboration and innovation as it encourages statisticians across Asia-Pacific to engage more directly, and creating an online forum for statisticians is a key feature of this structure. This platform will facilitate the exchange of knowledge, experience, and advice between UN entities and NSOs. And by leveraging technology, we can ensure dynamic and responsive exchange of ideas. However, this transformation is not without challenges. In my personal point of view, transitioning from established groups to a new online forum requires careful management to ensure continuity and maintain the momentum of ongoing projects, as I already mentioned. And there may be initial resistance to change, as well as logistical hurdles in setting up and maintaining an effective online platform. So I think to address these challenges, we need to ensure robust support systems to clear communication channels to guide this transition. Providing training and resources will be essential to help all participants among the participants adapt smoothly. In conclusion, while the proposed structure presents some challenges, it also offers significant opportunities for growth and collaboration. And by embracing these changes, we can better meet the needs of our users and strengthen the statistical community across Asia Pacific.
Thank you very much. Rachel, do you want to take? Okay, sorry. Ensha, would you like to add anything?
Yes, thank you very much. I want to agree with Gajita there. While the dash teams, we are quite clear in our minds what we want to achieve with dash teams, especially when the terms of reference and the end date and the deliverables are quite clear. That is quite okay in terms of the document. Now, for the online forum, that is where things get a bit hazy. It can be many topics, and so you need to have a very clear moderator for the online forum to see where are the topics that they don't get too muddy, that they are clear, and who is contributing to that online forum. Do they have the technical expertise, or will some of the forums get a bit out of hand, or will some of the forums get very dry? Nobody is responding to them, and they just die off. So in terms of the online forum, well, it is a very good idea to capture knowledge and to exchange views, expert views. There needs to be a strong moderator. I think I would suggest that maybe you start small to see where the interest level is. What are the key topics that we want to discuss? Even your Stats Cafe series could be one of the forum topics, but we start small to see where the growth and the interest is before you expand it. Yeah, that's my comment on the online forum. It's more on the mechanics of how to manage it. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much, Ensha. Very valid point. Other colleagues, would you like to come in and add something? Maybe, I don't know, Gary, would you like to add anything, or other participants?
I don't have anything to add, but I do agree with sort of some of the cautions about the online forum. But I think those are manageable. Like, it's also, we need us as as leaders in in the ESCAP region, we need to also commit to participate as well. So I think that's quite key as well, because we can't sort of say, oh yeah, we need it, or no, it didn't work, so we've got to close it down if we haven't participated. So I think that's a commitment from us as well, to be active in this community.
Thank you very much, Gary. Colleagues, the Mentimeter is now off, and I can see that 2 colleagues have already joined. I try to share my screen, and I invite everyone to come in. Just a second. So, can you see my screen now? Could you just please let me know that if you can see, and simply full your screen if you just say something, because I cannot see my team's screen. Okay, now we have 5 colleagues and 1 like. Thank you very much for liking. So the first one is that, do you support the new structure that Rachel presented, and with all the comments that everyone just had, and some of the things that you believe needs to be added or somehow adjusted? We have 7, 8. Perfect. So please come in and let us know what you think, because it's really important for us And your thoughts are really important and can help us to set up these dashboards in a way that works for everyone. We have 10 colleagues. In fact, we were 33 in the room. So maybe we just help to increase the response rate a little bit. All right, I move to the next one. So we can also see the next one that some of the points that Alex mentioned was about the agility and that this structure helps to increase the inclusiveness. And you can just say that how much you agree that this new structure can support being agile and being inclusive. I see that colleagues are now voting. We have 5 colleagues. And since that you agree that this can help being agile and inclusive, but maybe it helps with agility a little bit more from your perspective. Okay. You can still vote even when I move to the next mentee. You can still vote. So and the other one is what are some of your thoughts? So you can this is open-ended question. You can add what you think. It can be either your concerns or the benefits, or maybe you have a comment that, for example, let's start small or something like that. Whatever you think, just feel free to type in. And it's somehow like a brainstorming an idea. So whatever you're thinking or about this new structure, feel free to add it here. And these are your personal opinions. And I just don't think that this is some sort of organization, and this is anonymous, so we don't know who is who. We are just collecting your thoughts. So we have one response, more efficient, more focused. 2 more focused, more flexible than formal groups. Perfect. We see modality is good. Yeah. We can somehow use the positive points of both modalities and face-to-face online if this is what you meant. More areas can be discussed. Time bound more likely to keep energy. We have comments from 6 colleagues, and I assume that since you are typing using your phones, maybe it takes a little bit more time. So let us wait a little bit more on this main question. Opportunities for wider participation, easier to get interested people involved. We wait a little bit. Just inviting everyone to come in. In similar situations, I always say that we are all official statisticians and we don't like low response rates. So let us not be one of those non-respondents. Okay, so you can still use and if you're typing, please continue and submit. And as I mentioned, your responses are anonymous. We are just collecting some thoughts, and we appreciate your help. And I stop sharing my screen now, and let us go back and see if there are any comments, questions in the chat, or any hands up. So we don't have any. I'm not sure. Rachel, should we conclude the meeting now, or do you have any thoughts?
I think we can conclude by saying thank you very much for all the contributions. Thank you for the feedback. Do please continue to kind of give us any more feedback, and we will, endeavour to include as much as we can in the revised paper, which will be part of a broader paper going to our Committee on Statistics. And we should be sending out the formal invitations to the Committee on Statistics in the next couple of weeks, but you all have the dates, so hopefully they're in your diary now, and you should also have the whole week set aside as we're doing the Committee on Statistics alongside the CEAP Governing Council and the CEAP Management Seminar on the Monday and Tuesday. So it means you can come to Bangkok for a whole week of statistics events, which gives that great opportunity. So may I just say a huge thank you to our chair, to the panel members, to everyone else. We really appreciate all your comments and feedback, and we will endeavour to really feed that in. And thank you for all of that. That's great. Thank you, everyone, and see you again soon.